Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast with your host, Hanna Hermanson, bringing you real-life stories of people who realized their dreams to educate and inspire you to create your legacy of abundance now.
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're hanging out with Rose Kirby. She is currently across the pond from me, but we are hanging out here live with you today. Rose is a coach and business strategist to the world's impact makers. She's a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, speaker, and everyday adventurer based in London, England. Rose works with coaches, consultants, health and therapy-based entrepreneurs to craft and launch online businesses that deliver life-changing transformation to the people they reach. She helps her clients create the clarity, marketing systems, and bespoke strategy that they can use to build consistent revenue and scale their impact whilst, I love that Londoners use the word whilst, creating a lifestyle they love. Previously a strategy consultant at McKinsey Co, Rose burnt out and was put on leave to recover. She eventually left her job without a plan, just a big mission and a really big calling. She now spends her time coaching, mentoring, and speaking to elevate and facilitate those who want to make an impact and get paid good money doing it. When Rose isn't helping her clients break through new impact and income goals, she's bungee jumping, diving with sharks, and seeking out the next adrenaline-filled thrill. Rose, we have so much to talk about. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for the intro, Hanna.
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned, even though we are far away, we do have a lot in common. And I think you have a lot in common with a lot of our listeners. So I want to go right into the heart of it with you, if you're ready.
Yes, why not?
Take us to that burnout phase of your life. What was that like that led to a need to take time off?
Yeah, so I've actually been thinking about it a lot in the last week or so, simply because this was the point in my life around a year ago where I was just on this fast moving train that was about to turn into a train wreck. And it was this time of year, and it's crazy to look back on it now, because it's all so clear to me what was happening now, but at the time I just didn't realize what was happening. So let's rewind a little bit. Let's just explain how I'd come to that point. So the job I was in previously, I found a couple of things challenging about it that just didn't align with who I am and what my strengths were. And I didn't realize this for a really long time. And I just kept going away at it, hoping that it will feel better, it'll get easier, and it never really did. And there were issues like the really, really big one about not really finding the work meaningful enough. And it's uncomfortable saying that, because I know that a lot of people would love to do the job I was doing before and would find it really meaningful. But that's the thing. The word meaningful is so different for different people. For me, where I was a year ago, it wasn't meaningful enough. Mm-hmm. So that's hard. The other part of me also really felt limited where I was. When you feel like I'm not using my strengths, and I just feel like I'm being described by my job description rather than who I am. And it's really well. And eventually I kind of realized that what I was doing, how I was working, just wasn't aligned with this, because this is going to sound a little bit life coachy, but it wasn't aligned with my values. And for people that don't know what their values are, it can feel a bit like, what the hell is values? But I think once you kind of realize what your core values are, and then you realize you're not living in alignment with them, it's just like, wow, okay, now I get it. Now I get why I feel the way I feel. So on top of that, I was working stupid hours, like crazy, crazy long hours. I was exhausted. I never had a chance to catch up on any kind of sleep. I didn't really have much of a social life. I didn't really have much health going for me either. And about this time last year, I burnt out and was on leave for about 2 months in the end to recover. So it was all a bit disastrous at the time, having no idea what was going to happen next.
Yeah, but what you're saying is that it's these little things, it's these day-to-day discomforts that it's not about like getting out of your comfort zone. It's like you are out of alignment and this is not based on my values. I can't fake a story any longer that what I'm doing is meaningful or I feel great about what I'm doing. I remember when I had a day job, I would make up all of these rationalizations and negotiate myself into thinking this was purposeful, when really it just wasn't, and you can't fake it for very long, and it does start to impact your health and your energy and your productivity. And so to have the awareness to know that you were burning out and taking time away, I think is really unique.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kind of didn't really know what was happening to me. And you're so right. It's that case of being so out of alignment, but not really knowing it in yourself that was a problem, and just going on hoping it feels better. And I walked into one of, what's the best word? Almost like the HR department, let's call it, my previous work. And I just sat down and said, I feel burnt out. That was the only phrase I could really describe how I felt, not knowing at the time that that's actually a thing and that's actually like a medical condition. So that's when they kind of said, look, you've got to stop then. You've got to take some time off. And it took about 5 to 7 days for me to feel any kind of emotion afterwards. I was so entirely numbed out. So that was quite a shock when I actually managed to feel any kind of degree of emotion afterwards. But anyway, so we first took a couple of months, and I decided going back to work was not the right decision for me at all. And I just decided to leave. And like I said, what you said in the bio, I had no idea what was going to happen next, but I really felt that sense of, I just need to lose sight of the shore, because there's no way I'm going to know what's next for me if I stay on this little island, because I'm going to be limited by the thinking of the people that are around me. And I just want to go find something different and something new. And I just felt like I was just getting on my little boat and going off to go and see if I can find other islands that felt a bit happier and a bit more alignment with me, I guess. And it's been a year of exploration since, and really understanding what am I on this planet to do, and what does that mean for me right now, and turning that into a business, because I've also really realized that entrepreneurship offers you so many more opportunities, and there is no ceiling anywhere. That you are your own limitation, and that's the really exciting thing for me. And I never thought I'd go into entrepreneurship at all. I was never the kid that would start a business in like preschool, but here I am, and it feels so normal and so natural. So yeah, I don't know what you feel like when you've moved from working as an employee to working as an entrepreneur, whether you felt the same.
So I had a very gradual transition into entrepreneurship. And so I'm curious what you're saying about not having the growing up or not really thinking you're an entrepreneur. When did you kind of buy in, if you will, to doing your own business?
Yeah, so I watched my parents run a business together since I was born, and just saw them struggle and thought, that looks like really hard work, and I don't want that stress, and I'm going to simply go and get a job and be safe and be secure. And that was because I was assuming that my values were security, and actually they're not. I much prefer the thrill of risk, I think. Not that I'm a huge risk taker, but I think there's got to be some kind of risk in there for me to enjoy.
I mean, bungee jumping and skydiving or diving with sharks. I mean, kind of risky.
I guess it's kind of controlled risk almost, but yeah, there's going to be a little bit of risk in there. So when was the switch to on thinking action? I think it was that feeling of there's so much more possibility, and I could do so much more. I could have much bigger impact, and I get to call the shots. I am terrible at doing what I'm told to do, like so terrible. And I much prefer to be creative about what I end up doing, and making my own rules a little bit. So I think entrepreneurship just suited me more in terms of character.
That's fascinating. I had an opposite upbringing in which I watched everyone around me play it safe, work 9 to 5, get a pension plan, have health insurance, all of these successful things that made them feel good and their value of security. And I knew I was so not that. And so I was searching. I didn't have a model or business owners even in my family. And so, like I said, my transition to entrepreneurship was gradual because all I knew was to get a 9 to 5, work for the state. And then I had to constantly expose myself and seek out new opportunities that eventually was like, oh, people run their own business. Like other people take risks. Like, heck yes, this is my calling. So I think that's just really interesting that we have different upbringings or backgrounds, but you and I are doing very similar things right now. So let's dig into it a little bit. I think we'll have a lot of great things to discuss, but tell us what it is you are helping people with today. What is your business founded upon?
Absolutely. So I feel really called to support those that would be, as I would identify them, as impact makers. So it's those that are really passionate and love helping other people. And they've probably gone to the extent of which they have gone and trained in something that can go and help somebody, for instance, like being a coach or a hypnotherapist or a nutritionist or something where they really enjoy helping other people and they're making an impact on people's lives on an individual basis. And I am a business strategist at heart. It's what I majored in at university. It's I've done while at my previous job as a strategy consultant. It's just the way I'm wired. I've been trained to solve really complex problems, and that's why business strategy for me is just so exciting. So I thought, well, I really deeply care about the people on this planet who feel like they just want to help people and make an impact and just make a genuine contribution. And my skills sit in business strategy. I also went and got a life coaching qualification too, just because I really want to understand the mindset around business as well. And I've kind of melded these together to support those that feel like they are here to make an impact on the world, even if it's just a little bit in their own little corner of the world. And they might find themselves struggling with marketing themselves, finding those clients, knowing how to build a brand, all those bits and pieces that go into a business that they haven't been taught at school, let's be honest, and that they find really challenging. And I come in and I help them with that part. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And I absolutely freaking love it. It's so much fun. And so yeah, I fully replaced my old salary. I get to call the shots. I get to work with really, really cool people. And I've got so much more freedom. So yeah, it is, I think we've got similar missions in that sense.
Definitely. I'm super curious. Like, tell us about these cool people. What are some of the business plans or impacts that your clients are making?
Yeah, so we've got health coaches that are getting really specific on really painful problems like binge eating, for instance. I've got a yoga teacher client as well who is looking at developing her yoga into solving depression, or at least supporting people that've got depression. Like, that's amazing. So yeah, there's some people doing really cool things.
Amazing. And what would you say the first steps, or how do you help these clients who come to you with a big mission and a big heart, and they're probably type A in some way, so they want to work hard and achieve things. How do you help them start kind of plotting out the first steps to building a business around those aspirations?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing we do is get really hyper specific about solving one problem for one type of person, because these people often want to help everybody and they are equipped to help everybody. If you've gone and trained to be a hypnotherapist, for instance, you know how to help lots of people do lots of things and solve lots of problems. But actually, as we all always hear with online marketing, if you talk to everybody, you talk to nobody. So it's about getting them to get super specific about who exactly are you helping and what are you helping them solve? What's the problem that you're solving? And then really, if you don't have that foundation in place, it can be really challenging to build anything on top in terms of marketing, sales, strategy, or anything like that. So that's the absolute first thing I get my clients to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that idea of like really niching down. You know, the riches are in the niches and all these, you know, these things that you and I probably throw around, but it's hard when you're just starting out to really believe that like I can just talk to one hyper specific type of person. Like I know I can help everyone, or what if those people don't like me or they don't want to work with me? But you know, what sort of results have you seen in helping people get that specific and talk to just one type of person or one avatar of a client?
It's amazing how people just come out of the woodwork. People that are actually in my clients' network already that have that problem, that don't quite realize that they could go and get it solved if they went and worked with my client. So then they reach out, but because when you're speaking so specifically to that client, to that person with that problem, they just know how to find you. So it's like that whole feeling of that whole idea of building your own mountain.
Yes. I love that.
Get your mountain so tall that people just gravitate towards you.
Yeah, I'm also glad you're saying that when you talk about people's problems, they're much more gravitated to you. Now, I am positive and upbeat. However, marketing that just focuses on this vague dream or goal that people may or may not have is so much harder to hit the heartstrings. Is when you get on their level, you get to the ground root problem, you notice their what I call bleeding neck, and you can call it out, and people can realize, oh my God, my neck is bleeding. I didn't even realize that was the pain. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and I really just wanted to pull that out for listeners to get really specific about a type of person and their problem. And then everything you do can be talking around the problem, about the problem, offering insight about how to solve the problem, and, you know, position yourself as the solution.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you really want to make an impact, then you've got to solve their problems, essentially. I think that's my belief, at least.
Yeah. So many good nuggets there for entrepreneurs to be thinking about for their marketing. So I want to switch gears a little bit and get to know more about your personal life. You know, your introduction gave us a little bit of insight, but tell us something that listeners might not know about you.
Okay, so let's do the basics quickly. So I live in London in a flat with my other half, my boyfriend, who is a pilot. So we use London as a base, and then we try and jump on a plane around once a month at least. So it's a really great base to do that, actually. And
Heathrow,
yes. I guess where we bought a flat strategically located between Heathrow and central London for exactly that reason.
Too good.
So, but yeah, no, what else can I tell you? This is a good one. My first job, I didn't want to go and do waitressing or bartending or being a shop assistant or anything. And classic little 15, 16-year-old rebel wanted to go and be a teacher. And I decided to be a gymnastics teacher because that was the only sport I was any good at.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Rose, it is too eerie how many similarities we have. When I was 15, I was a gymnastics manager because I needed to be doing 1,000 things at once and didn't play a sport in the winter. So I was like, I'm going to just go work for the gymnastics team. This is eerie.
This is so creepy. We're almost each other's doppelgangers, bar the different hair color.
Yeah, so fun. All right. Well, I do want to transition now that you said you were a teacher. We're going to transition into the pop quiz round. I just have 3 more questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. The first question is, what is one exercise, one thing that listeners can do today to get them closer to their dream life? What would you recommend?
Okay, keyword that's just jumped into my head would be clarity. Clarity on what your big why is, what impact you want to make, and what your mission or purpose is, because everything falls out of that. And that's not an easy process. I'm not going to pretend that it is, because it's not. And it kind of comes as a result of experimentation and reflecting and understanding what feels good and what doesn't feel good and what feels meaningful. But getting clarity on what sort of impact you really want to make in this world is so foundational to then making your dream life happen.
Yeah. And I totally agree that action breeds clarity, and so does silence. So I think that reflection and experimentation, and giving yourself space, like Rose said, it's not like you're going to finish the exercise today, but start to give yourself some space and grace to try something different and see how it feels.
Yeah, so true.
A+. Number 2 is, what is a tangible resource? Maybe it's a book or something else that has changed your life that you wish you could just hand to everyone listening right now. What's that thing?
Ooh, okay. So I'm terrible with books. I have like 10 on the go at one time. I never really managed to finish them. I've got real book FOMO, I think.
Bofmo. How would you say that? Bofmo.
We can start a trend there. Yeah. But if I really go back to what catalyzed everything for me at the very beginning, and it sounds a little bit cliched, but it was actually the first couple of chapters of the 4-Hour Work Week. And that book, I always say to people, both ruined my life and transformed my life in the same sitting, because it really questioned a lot of the normal beliefs that the people around me had, and confirmed my suspicions and confirmed just gave me a new way of thinking, I think, as well. At the same time, kind of gave me confidence in that the way I was thinking was the right way, or at least okay to think that way. So yeah, although the 4-Hour Work Week has a very bold title, and I don't necessarily believe in the concept of a 4-Hour Work Week, but I think it is just a really good catalyst to think about things differently, which is so important.
Shake up the status quo. Definitely.
Yes.
4-Hour Work Week. And Tim Ferriss, yes, I would agree that the title is a little bit hard to get 100% behind, but he has so much other good content. So I love that recommendation. My last question is, where can people stay connected with you and learn more about what you do?
Sure, yeah. So my website is rosekirby.com, nice and easy, hopefully. And come and join the Impact Makers Facebook group. That's where I hang out mainly. We've got a really cool little tight-knit community of people that are doing awesome things in the world there. So just search for Impact Makers and you'll find me, I'm sure.
All right, so Impact Makers on Facebook and rosekirby.com.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We'll make sure that those links are in the show notes so that people can, see what Rose is up to in making impact and making some dream lives real life. So, Rose, thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and your light with us today. We will be back next week, listeners, with another inspiring guest that will help make your dream life your real life.
Thanks for having me, Hanna.
Of course.
You've been learning how to make your dream life your real life with Hanna Hermanson. To get the resources mentioned on today's show and to listen to past episodes, visit www.dreamlifeisreallife.com.